One stretch that could benefit so many people if they do it properly is the hip flexor stretch. The hip flexor muscle, or the psoas in particular, goes from the front of the leg and attaches to the front of the lower lumbar spine. So basically what it does is it allows you to pick your leg up, but also it allows your low back to go into this extended position. So if you're having some low back issues or tightness in the hips, this could be a phenomenal stretch for you, especially if you're doing a lot of sitting throughout the day. So the way you're going to get set up is in the half kneeling position, one knee's down, one foot's up. You want to make sure on the back leg that that toe is tucked underneath. That allows for you to get a little bit more of a tuck of the pelvis. So just simply by taking a wide base, tucking your pelvis underneath to really squeeze the glute of that back leg, hand up on your knee for your postural stability. Just doing that, if you're doing it properly, you'll start to feel the stretch on the front of the hip. All you got to do here is just breathe into it, and that would be more of the isometric stretch. If you're not feeling it much, or you want to get a little bit more of a stretch out of it, you can push forward just an inch or two and start to feel it just a little bit more. Again, when you go forward, you don't want to compromise the tuck of the pelvis, because that's where the stretching sensation comes in. And I'll show you what I mean by that. But if you're here, you're just breathing into it, staying up nice and tall. Remember, your posture is going to be important as you go through all of these different kinds of stretches. Breathing into it, you hold this anywhere from 30 seconds on up to a minute, and then repeat 1 to 2, maybe even 3 sets per side. But if you feel like you need more flexibility, or you want to go deeper into the stretch, there's a couple different variations of this. One of which is you can come back to the beginning, tuck the pelvis, stay up tall, take a breath, exhale, push your hip forward, feel that stretch as you're going through motion, come back, tuck the pelvis, get up tall, push through, keep squeezing that glute more and more intense as you're going forward. Come on back. Now, one of the reasons that we don't want to go too far forward is sometimes if you're not squeezing the glute and you're not aware of what's going on here in the low back, you can begin to compromise, and you won't be really stretching the muscle, but more so relying on the ligaments and the laxity of the tissues, and not really getting much of the benefit out of the drill. What do I mean by that? You'll see a lot of times in videos or pictures when people are doing a hip flexor stretch and they're doing this where they're leaning back. Now, it looks like they have a lot of stretching here going on, and that just might be so. But if you have tightness and achiness in your low back or your hips, or you have different issues, probably that's not going to be the best thing for you to start with. You might be able to get there eventually. Certainly don't want to hold you back from doing that. But if you feel like you have any sort of hesitancy because of issues in the low back, just start with the simple modified version where you're tucking your pelvis, staying up tall, pushing forward just a couple inches, feeling for that sensation in the front of the hip. Again, like I said, if you need a little bit more, you can push forward a little bit more. But chances are, if you're not feeling the stretch, you're probably not squeezing the glute of the hip that's back. So that's the hip flexor stretch. If you have any questions, just go ahead and send me a message. I'm always here to help.